These are playing cards. They're sanded, and I sewed them together for a foundation for a snippet roll. Here I'm covering them up with tea bags. So a playing card has two sections of card to it. One is the back card, and then you have the face of the card, and they do come apart. So when you're sanding them and then spritz some water on them, they'll come apart. Here the cards are covered with tea bags. I found an old scarf hairnet in my stash, and it's navy blue, and so I thought it matched well, and I'm only cutting out the section where there were some flowers to place on top of the tea bag cards. I'm looking at the scarf material to see which way it should face up. And then I decide to use medium, fluid medium, which I use golden on top to glue the fabric to the tea bags. I will be sewing this at the very end. And putting more fluid medium on the top of the scarf. Then I have some red lace, and I decide I just want the ruffle piece, and so I'm going to use the fluid medium to attach the red lace and also the tan lace. I would suggest just look in your stash for materials and add it to your band and the material before you layer anything else on top. These are my playing cards. They're all topped with tea bags. And I started painting yellow and then blue, and I kind of lost track of the numbers of the card. I don't know why, but I did. I just started painting without thinking, and that's what happened. I really liked the blue and the yellow. In some areas, blue and yellow will make green. But for the most part, I got the blue. Now, on top of the tea bag, there's a couple of the cards that I had embossed, and I think maybe 3 cards that are not embossed. And here I added paint, white paint. These paints are from Golden. They are a thinner fluid paint. Then I decided to add some water to the paint and see if I can salvage some of the numbers, but it looks like I really couldn't. Here I'm wiping it off to see if I could salvage any of the numbers again, but nope. But that's okay. Next time I do this project, I'll remember not to paint over the numbers so much. So you want to let dry, and then you come back to them. And I decided to do some touch-up paint with water. Just to get it a little blended. So this is the second time going around with water. And I'm using a paper towel on top to absorb some of the excess paint. Cleaning my desk. And here I am pretty satisfied now with the paint. So I get a stencil out, and I'm going to use black to make marks onto the card. Just randomly. This is the first card, so I'm a little more cautious, I think. The second card, I go for it more, filling in the black with the stencil, as you can see. And then I started adding blue and copper. Blue and copper, trying to think of the name, acrylic ink. It's by Liquitex. And I added water so I could get some drips coming down. And I really liked what the drips did to the card and to the paint. It did push back some of the black as well from the stencil. So these need to dry before we can do the next step. But here I'm just adding a little more copper to the card, make it look a little more copper-ish. Then I blow dry, because these need to be dry for the next step. Okay, pretty happy with the cards and the way they're looking. Prior to this step, I did cut 3 of the cards in the middle to make a window. And as I lay it down here, I think you can see it. Although as I'm gluing these cards down, I'm trying to get them as even as I can. And then I needed weights. And here you can see where I cut out the card in the middle. They're on the right. Then I added these little pieces of card that also have Teabag on them. And I added them between the cards. I'm trying to add a minimum amount of glue because I do plan to sew, and I will have to wait till the glue is dried before I can sew, so you don't clog up your sewing needle with glue. I do have 3 orange weights, but I could only find one. I think I might have dropped the other 2, and I haven't been able to find them on the floor. And I'm looking here because I want to add some of these red roses or red flowers. They kind of look like roses to me. And I just want to add them in a certain areas. I don't want to add it to all the areas of the card strip snippet roll. So then I thought I would use liquid text on this one. The previous rose cluster I used just regular Elmer's glue. Then I put some gel medium on top to have it kind of soak into the material. Oops, there you see my head. I do have a good hairdo day today though. And then there's a piece of the netting that was all crooked, so I had to fix it. After it was all glued down, I put parchment paper on top and some books, let it dry. Here I am placing tea bags onto this page in my journal, so I have a tea bag page. And then I sewed this, and you can't really see it. There you go. You can see how I scribble when I sewed this snippet roll, so it's sewed all over the place. But I like it that way, it looks good. Then I need to do some gold splashes to make it sparkly. Then I cut it to size. Here is the snippet roll, all full of gold. Then I add it to my journal, and I add a journaling card from series number 3.